Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. We are so happy that you're here. This is the second part of the intro series for our newest show, Seeds of Light. Seeds of Light is dedicated to all of you parents, grandparents, aunties, uncles, children out there who are interested in using astrology in your parenting, in your life, to find and illuminate your path. So we are so grateful that all of you are here. And today is a very, very, very special episode because we have astrologer Natasha Alter here with us. And Natasha, I can safely say, is one of, if not the reason why Astrology Hub exists today. I know we all are contributing, but had it not been for my first astrology reading with Natasha Alter, and I know Anna has a very similar story, I don't think Astrology Hub would be here. So I am so grateful that we get to have this full circle moment because, like we mentioned last time on part one of the things that we all really connected on was the children in our lives. So my two daughters, Madeline and Sophia, Anna's son Koa, which he wasn't here yet, but he was coming through. And it's extraordinarily significant that we get to be here today, all three of us together and sharing with all of you. So thank you for being here. Before we dive into the actual episode, I wanted to let you know that any of you who are considering joining our Inner Circle, which is our monthly membership program, where you get to learn from a different astrologer every month. There's mastery class teachings, there's new and full moon forecasts, there's a very vibrant community, lots of amazing perks as members. You get to get 20% off of all of the Astrology Hub classes. You get to be the first ones to ask questions when we do panel events, all kinds of things that we do special for our Inner Circle members. If you would like to join us, today is the last day. So we only open enrollment twice a year. The next time won't be until the summer solstice. But if you'd like to have this guidance and support for you for this first part of the year, just try it. There's no contract when you join. So if it's not right for you, you can always cancel your membership. But this is a great way to just see if you're ready for it. It is geared towards students. So it's not as much for those of you who just go, just tell me what the astrology is. I don't care how it works. It's more for you, the ones, those of you out there who are thinking, I want to know how to do this. I want to actually start to decode the language and learn it myself. And, or if you have been a student of astrology for a long time, this is a great way just to have consistent teachers, consistent mentors, and an incredible community of astrology lovers to speak the language with. Okay. If you're interested, go to astrologyhub.com/IC21. That stands for Inner Circle 21, astrologyhub.com/IC21. We'd love to be welcoming you into the Inner Circle soon. All right. Yes, Anna, go ahead.
Love to add that it's also great for those of you that are really excited to expand your learning library, because as we feature a different astrologer every month, they bring their own expertise and their own techniques into the mastery teachings. So it's consistently one of our community's favorite things about the Inner Circle is the diversity and the expansion of the tool set.
Yes, thank you for saying that. All right. So Natasha, welcome.
Yes. Thank you. I am, you know that I'm thrilled. You know how important this moment in time is for me. Both of you know. We've been at the very birthing of this concept and that vision together. We seeded it together. We dreamt of it together. And my heart is beating fast of just like supreme joy and gratitude that we did manage to come full circle and arrive to the moment where our seed, our concept, our vision can actually start sprouting into a tangible, impactful chain of wisdom, knowledge, learning, expanding, evolving together. It's you know, if there is like this dream come true, this is the moment for me. And it's significant for me personally, on my own evolutionary journey, on my own human journey. It's significant, everything, as you said in meditation, all the events, all the experiences that I had to go through, and all the knowledge that I had to gain before I was kind of allowed by universe to arrive to this moment, you know. It's it's here and it's now, and grateful, supremely grateful to be here. Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the personal journey and why this feels so significant to you? And for those of you who are just tuning in and you missed the first episode, this is a new show, a new platform, a new series that we are starting as Astrology Hub. Anna is the host of the show. It's going to be happening every Friday. And we'll be focusing entirely on astrology as a tool for parents and for children. And there's going to be different focuses, some that are really designed to support the parents. Eventually, we're going to have content designed specifically for the children and of all ages. You know, we had questions come in. Is it for just little children? Is it going to be, our vision is to be able to support children of all ages, including adult children, you know, the child within each one of you out there. And it's not just for parents. It's for grandparents, it's for aunties, it's for uncles, it's for any of you who are interested in this topic, teachers, you know, people that work with children, and or even your inner child, as Anna spoke to so beautifully last time. If you're interested in looking at part one and getting a little bit more of a background about Anna as the host, about the intention, the mission of the show, you can go back. It was a couple weeks ago. It's Seeds of Light. And it was a special edition, and we'll get the episode number for you. But Natasha, can you tell us a little bit more about why this is so important to you, why you're so passionate about it?
Yes. Yes, but before that, I actually would like to give thanks to Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, which is part, hello guys, which is part of this moment, indeed, which is this a catalyst, the energy that catalyzes the finally us arriving at this moment. You know, I cannot not mention that. It is pretty epic. You know, I was already a while ago, like, we astrologers, we know it's coming, and I, you know, kind of was visualizing and trying to figure out or guess, you know, what it might mean for me personally, besides what it means for humanity, and tying it to my chart. And the way it happens and how it comes through and how it manifests could not be more perfect, you know, for not just for me personally, but for us as humanity entering this Aquarian realm right now. The Saturn and Jupiter are still at 0. I just checked. They're quickly moving, but they're still sitting there. This is a moment of seeding. This is a moment of launching our visions, of launching our intentions, Aquarius, of launching our hopes for the future to manifest. And we are participating actively in that process, all of us here. Now, Aquarius, why children? You know, let's just look at it. You know, Aquarius activates the axis of Aquarius Leo, right? We got Leo on the other end. So Aquarius rules, besides many other things, rules humanity, right? It's about us as human family. Now, on the other end, we got Leo, which rules
Children.
Okay. So how do we tie this moment into Aquarius Leo axis? Well, what do you feel? Like children, humanity. Children are the future Aquarius humanity. You see, this is like the almost like what we're doing is literally co-creating, co-defining together what that future humanity is going, how it's going to form and how it's going to experience itself. So I wanted to bring Leo in because Leo is always a part of, Aquarius Leo axis. And it's very significant that here today we're talking about kids. And, and children astrology is not about children, it's about us. We are the Leos, we are the kids. We are the ones who are part of the Aquarian humanity, and we are the ones now helping to steer and guide humanity forwards through elevating our awareness about parenting and about children. So we are the seeds of light as well, right?
Yes, Natasha, my heart is singing. It's so near and dear to my heart, this idea that as we're supporting our children to shine their light, that we're simultaneously and just as importantly doing that for ourselves, because as you said, we are the children of humanity. And if we're not doing it for ourselves, we can't do it for our children. And I've been tuning into what are the truths that feel honestly true to me that I can hold and just feel confident standing by them. And one of them, which I've shared already on our previous show, is this idea that we're not going to change the world until we change the way that we're raising our kids, because it starts with the child. And I also simultaneously love and honor this idea that Rick's brought in on the Cosmic Connection, that it's never too late, because time is totally different than the way we think.
Absolutely.
And we can always go back and have a happy childhood.
Yeah.
You know, I think that the role of us as parents, when we become parents, we're actually brought back to our childhood. And one of our roles is to become that happy child that we were always meant to be, and that our child or our children are here to help us have that happy childhood and become the people that we were always meant to be. So
absolutely. And what you're saying is definitely confirmed by my practice. You know, how many times have I seen healing happening to the parent who is initially seeking out a reading for the child? How much healing and kind of redemption, you know, for whatever they missed in their own childhood, and how much reconnection, you know, to their own inner child and to their parents have been happening. So yes, absolutely. There is a lot of healing and reliving the childhood as we are doing the parenting work, and as we're learning astrology, as we're reconnecting to our core and to our genuine, authentic self, which is the kid in us. Yeah. So you still want to tell me, me to tell you still, right? You still want. Okay, so I think I mentioned a little bit in the previous, in the podcast that we had in the summer, right? A little bit of my story, how I arrived at it, but I'll just, not to be redundant, I'll pick up some parts of how I arrived to that process. So being, a very sensitive child that I was, I was always pondering upon why people are the way they are, why things happen, why do they behave that way. And eventually I got into psychology. I started studying psychology in Stockholm's University, and quite early into my studies, I decided I wanted to drop out because it just was not supplying. It was so flat. It was so devoid of the spiritual context. It was literally looking at human behavior with examples of rat laboratory studies. So, and I have nothing against the rat's behavior and rat's intelligence. However, and it can be quite relevant. However, it was so absolutely dry and cold and mechanistic that I decided to drop out. Sometime later, quite a bit later, after I went through my personal healing, in my 30s, I definitely continued to study inner psychology and heal whatever my experiences or my perception of my traumas were when I was growing up. And when I discovered astrology, that was one of the first ahas and realization, whoa, what impact could this awareness and this knowledge, this material and information that the chart provides, what impact it could have on the parents raising their kids? My initial response was like, and I mentioned that in the previous show, I wish my papa and mama knew that about me. I wish they knew that it was nothing wrong with me being that way. I wish they didn't need to punish me for that or criticize me for that, and instead supporting me in whatever. So in that moment, that realization of the potential, of the potency, of importance, and the healing that astrology can provide for not only children, not only parents, but all of us as humans, that became quite evident. And, I started thinking of all of those people who spent thousands of dollars or euros, whatever, going to therapy, trying to heal their childhood, trying to heal their broken relationship with their parents, trying to kind of find a remedy for that impact. I just realized, wow, we got quite an amazing gateway here through astrology. We don't need to go through the years of therapy. We can actually prevent a lot of trauma, right? By educating ourselves, educating parents, and just being open to the wisdom of astrology. And so when I started offering the readings as a beginning astrologer, I just saw that naturally, with my orientation towards psychology, naturally a lot of the readings would end up to looking at the parental dynamic in the chart, right? A lot of challenges, emotional challenges, or whatever people would find in their life, in their relationships and their whole relationship with the world out there and their self-perception, a lot of it trickled down and went all the way back to their childhood experiences and whatever, let's say, distorted impact and imprint they would receive into their psyche as a child. And then I realized even more, okay, that supports my understanding how much we can do with astrology, right? So it started building up in my psyche that way. And then I started offering readings for the children, just experimenting, and for the parents. And then I started hearing things like, when the mother would or the parent would contact me with the difficulties they have in the relationship with their already grown up children, like 20s, already kind of formed beings. And I would look at the chart of this grown up child, and I would just relay a few things around their nature. And I would hear back, I wish I knew this earlier. I would hear mothers acknowledging that they wish they knew that, and how much damage, or trauma, both ways could have been avoided. So that basically just kept supporting my vision that this is important. It needs to be brought out to the world. We need to start collecting the material and information. We need to train, we need to pass it on, we need to share this intelligence, right? So yeah, this is basically how we all connected through that, the three of us. And I feel like when we did that, what was it, 8 years ago or 9 years ago? I think it's 2012, right? 2012. We planted the seed, but the seed didn't take off, right? And we can say, well, the timing was not right, which is true. Perhaps we needed to wait until Jupiter, Saturn would enter Aquarius, to co-create this future humanity, But also, I feel like we as humans might not have been ready yet to take upon us this important task, to have maturity enough understanding, not that we are super, but I feel like we needed more experiences to arrive to this moment with enough of supporting knowledge to be able to start sharing it with others.
I also want to acknowledge the community, because it's clear that they also, whatever we've been doing collectively as a group here at Astrology Hub, they too, you too, I'm speaking to all of you out there, are ready. There's been a ripening, and that was evidenced, and I mentioned this last time, but by the response to the podcast episode, Natasha, that we did, that we aired earlier this year, and the flood of interest and comments, and that had never happened before. We had put this topic out, we put it on surveys, we put it out, and it was always received with like a lukewarm interest level. And it was like, oh, really? Okay, I guess we'll wait. So that was one of those moments that it's been a ripening on all levels. So as personally, the audience, that you as our community, and probably the children too, the children asking the questions and wondering. And, I've often had the thought, I can't imagine that we would have the level of teenage suicide.
Yes.
If children knew
Yes.
how important and beautiful and valuable and purposeful their life is. And to me, watching my two girls grow up with this inner knowing that they're here for something, that they have something unique to offer, and that is just by being who they are. They don't actually have to do a bunch of things. I mean, they will as an out expression of who they are, but I mean, the teenage, it's the amount of people who feel lost and purposeless and hopeless.
Yes.
to me, I look at astrology and go, oh my God, if they only knew, then it's hard for me to imagine that they would feel that way, And so the opportunity to proliferate the messages of astrology is such an honor, and I agree with you that to be ready for that stewardship, we've had to do a lot of work ourselves personally.
I want to bring in the giant elephant that's in the room, which is this monumental year that we just experienced, where, the proverbial shit hit the fan in terms of everything kind of just stopped. The way that things were going, our structures, what we had in place for our children stopped. And it's definitely interesting to think of life as a parent in 2020 and life as a non-parent, because parents were all of a sudden at home with their kids being taken away from every structure that was there to support them before, and their regular routines and their friends. And simultaneously, the parents had the structures taken away from their support system as well, because we needed the schooling to allow us to work. And so all of a sudden we were in a whole new dynamic, and we were cooped up with our patterns, right? And we're also really faced with seeing, what do I really stand behind? What was working about what we had before, and what wasn't working? And I really do think that this has been a catalytic point in allowing all of us to be ready to have this show, have this conversation, taking that hard look at what can we do to make this truly supportive for our children, for parents, for all of humanity. And it was so touching to me. Sorry, my voice is shaking a little bit because I'm just so moved by our community saying, why is nobody talking about how this is impacting our children? I had somebody in my family, a little one in my family, that was suffering from depression because he didn't understand why his friends didn't want to play with him anymore, and why he couldn't see them anymore. And so many in our community have brought up this question of, what are our children going to grow up like with this trauma that they're experiencing right now? And so I'm just so proud of us as a community for stepping up and choosing to take the journey of, how can we make this supportive, and how can we use this moment that's so challenging to birth something completely new and completely different that does enable every child and every human to feel their light shine, to feel like they have a purpose, to know that they have a purpose.
Huge. I mean, it really has required this step back, and I know when this all happened, it's like most of us, and I'm going to speak for all of you, I don't know if you agree with this, but most of us were just going along and it was working pretty good. It's like, it's pretty good. It's good enough, maybe. There's things I don't like. There's things that aren't working, but in general, it's pretty good. And this happened, and it was like, wow. Like, first of all, is pretty good enough? Really? Like, what if we could make it great? What if we could redesign, take the threads of the things that have really worked well and start to infuse, I said this, I don't know on what show, but I would go, why don't they teach astrology in schools? Why don't they, the teachers, why don't they know the charts of the kids? it's like, well, who's they? Like, why am I expecting it to be out there? And so much of the messaging this year is inner authority. Take your power in, like, take it back, create it. If it's not there and you see a need for it, create it, and then see what happens, and we can work with it. So, yeah, Anna, it's this, that is the other ingredient to this whole thing that came together that none of us could have foreseen. That was, yes, that catalyst of like, all right, we're doing it. Like, enough is enough. Let's just do it. And it's really exciting in that way. So this is where the trauma, we also have a choice for it to be a trauma or for it to be the catalyst that propels us into an entirely new future, right? It's like, there's so many things that happen in our life that can be trauma and I'm saying and because sometimes it starts as a trauma and then we actually get the gifts out of it later. But Natasha, I feel like you have something to say.
No, I'm just completely agreeing with you. Absolutely. We are, we exited this Saturnian shell with Pluto still in Capricorn, so it's still there, but it's like, we can say last degrees, it's kind of wrapping up, we can pretend. But yeah, we exited the Saturnian shell that we've been in with Saturn, Jupiter there, and we definitely we can't, and we don't need to, we don't want to rely on authority and existing structure anymore. We humans want to create our own reality, as Aquarius likes to do. We have been released from the box of Saturn, we're out of the box. And that includes, co-creating, which is Aquarian, also Aquarian energy, together as a collective, our new reality. And part of it is co-creating also the way we raise the next generations. That's a big part of it. And I feel like a lot of school systems, school structures, the styles of education, the curriculum, the dogmas, the old old kind of time patriarchal kind of controlled way of teaching kids is going to go away. And hopefully is going away as we speak, I also got a lot this year, since the quarantine started. I started getting requests for readings from parents because the kids were at home. And they were interested in knowing, first of all, a lot of times, they're meeting their kids for the first time, almost like all anew. Because they now have to see the other sides of kids' personality, which otherwise were expressing themselves outside of home, right? So there would be a lot of questions. It would be, who is this being? I didn't know he was that way or she was that way, Wow, this is new. What do I need to know to do homeschooling? And then another thing is like, what style of learning is most suitable for my kid? That alone opens up the box of teaching style equal for everybody and opens up the more individualized learning, individualized, adapting to the natural makeup, to natural proclivity of the child, which makes it that much more efficient and that much more interesting and fun and organic for that being. Of course, we can't create a classroom which each child is going to be taught differently. But I think that Steiner Waldorf schools were doing a good job already. They were kind of paving the way towards that approach, that each child still had a room or space for individual approach. right? Your kids spend so much time at Waldorf school, so you know. Yeah, so this is definitely has been activated. The need to know the kids better, to understand them better, the need to know, for parents to know themselves as parents better, to understand why there are conflicts arising and how different am I from my kid, and that's fine. How do we find a common ground, knowing our differences, how we are integrated and create a wholesome environment? So all of that has been arising, and yeah, it's a part of how we arrive to that moment here and now also, definitely.
Well, and it's just exciting to have this opportunity to rethink, to just rethink, revise, just again, taking those things that have worked and adding in these other elements and adapting it to a world that has changed since the school system was created. And when you think about the whole, 8 to 3, like even the hours of school and what we've learned about people's attention span and their ability to actually even focus.
Yeah.
And then also how the world is changing in terms of the work that we do. And are we actually training our children to be the best they can be in a world that is very different, again, than the one that was here when school started? So it's like some of these old, outdated ways of doing things that have just, again, continued because that's the way we do it. That's the way we do it, without a whole lot of, and plus all these structures got created around the way we do it. So changing is hard, within those like very, very encrusted structures. It required something really like a big shakeup, really, to allow us to start to think about things differently. And I know I've been watching, there's new things coming that are very exciting. There's a lot of people who have had these ideas who are getting activated and going, okay, like it's just like us. It's time to start bringing this thing I've been working on my whole life. I mean, we've had people reach out to us and say, I've been holding this vision for decades, but it just wasn't the right time. So it's like all these lights are also turning on, and people that have looked at the cracks in the structure and looked at the things that aren't working and gone, we could do this better. It's like, okay, time to start bringing that forward.
Yes.
One of the big things I think that's really having to shift, and I think we're still in the midst of shifting it, but I can speak to us as a company, even having gone through this process, is this idea of productivity and the structures that were there in place in order to ensure productivity, right? Like kind of factory-like productivity, and then all the self-worth that's been placed in that productivity, in the accomplishments, in like hitting certain milestones, and it being a direct like formula for you the more work you put in, the more valuable you are, the better it's gonna be. It's like all of this is having to crumble if we're actually going to be talking about individuals, if we're going to be talking about individual needs, individual styles of learning, actually thriving. Because us as parents, if we want to meet our kids' needs, we need to have different schedules as well. And if we want to get creative about how we're raising them and how we're educating them, we're bringing in homeschooling, whatever it is, if we don't want to just do the 9 to 5 and put our kid in a thing somewhere out there where we're not interacting with them except for dinner in the morning, then all of that is reframing. So it's just like it's a destructuring at all of these levels and taking it apart. It's like a giant puzzle that then needs to be put back together in a way more creative and expansive way.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Anna. And just to give you a little like behind the scenes of what Anna's talking about, because of what happened this year, and so many, I mean, half of our team are mothers, more than half of our team are mothers. And so all of a sudden, we all had our kids at home. And it was like, oh, wow, we're not going to be able to work as many hours as we used to. And what became very clear, very fast was, and I'm grateful that we can do this. And I want to acknowledge that not everybody could make these kinds of adjustments. I know that not everybody was working in a place where they could have the autonomy to make these kinds of adjustments, but I just want to share, because what I think it does is illustrate a potential for all of us. That goes along with what Anna was saying. So all of a sudden we have like half the time, if not less than that we had before to do our work. And it became so clear that each one of us needed to focus only on the places where we have the most impact. Mm-hmm. That we needed to say no to everything that didn't have impact. And we had to say yes to using the little amount of time we had to just be super focused and bring our gifts in a very specific way to support the whole. And it has been so brilliant. I mean, for a Capricorn who can be prone to maybe overworking or, doing things a certain way because that's the way we do them, this has been mind-blowing to experience that when we made that shift, everything got better. People were happier at work. People were more creative. We produced more than we ever have, and without the stress, without the everybody needs a 1 month recovery from that event we just did. I mean, it has felt seamless and elegant and fun. And my guess is that you all have felt that. That shift that has happened for us internally, it's like bled through to how you experience the energy of Astrology Hub. And so what this has confirmed for me is that some of the old ways of doing things are not only are they not working for us, like we're all exhausted and tired and stressed and all this, but they're actually not effective. Like they actually don't work as well as new ways. And I mean, our audience has grown more than ever. Everything that you could measure tangibly and everything that you can't measure intangibly has improved. And I know it's a direct result of all of us just, it's like, okay, we have this, I have something to bring, Anna has something to bring, Jamie has something to bring. Let's bring those things, let go of everything else, the shoulds and, we should, this feeling of needing to over deliver just to prove that we have value, all those things gone by virtue of logistics. They had to go, and it's better than ever. And so I think this is a great model for the way that we can think about things moving forward. Think about the way that we structure the work that we do. And to your point, Anna, this has enabled all of us to be more present for our children. All of us, all of a sudden, had more space to be present with the children in our lives.
And have a different quality of presence with children, right?
Yes.
Definitely, I've been noticing that is also improving and growing and changing, with parents becoming more in touch with their own nature and their own soul and the soul of their kids. Yeah, the quality of presence definitely changes. I wanted also to bring, as you were speaking, I remembered our first episode 8 years ago or 9 years ago that we recorded for a completely different show that you had at the time. And it was about new children. And at that time, I was really excited because I felt like, wow, there are all these new souls, new beings, new wiring, new light bearers are being born. And I was seeing what oftentimes devastating effect the old, outdated upbringing and schooling have been doing to those kids, how they were literally suppressed and choked at the very, a root, without allowing them to express themselves. Some of it came through, all of this labeling of ADHD, of hyper, of overactive, of attention deficit, whatever labels there are there. It started kind of alarming me, because there was lack of understanding at that time that these new generations are literally vibrating on a whole different scale, and that their process of integration, their process of interface with reality, their mental faculties, their, the way they run information through their system is no longer the same. So they do require a different style of learning, not necessarily a linear, not necessarily A to B, B to C. I've seen kids coming and they're like open, and they learn by osmosis, and they go back and forth, up and down. They have parallel channels running in there. So when that was not understood, I don't know if it's understood at this point, but at that time it did really, really hurt me and pain me that they were given medications, that they were drugged, that their natural, quick-paced, all over the place nature that needed to be that way for them to connect was suppressed through medication, So I think that is something also that we can keep on informing, being informed on, addressing, so that we can hopefully enlighten and have impact on those authorities who are prescribing and labeling and having psychiatric evaluations, which are oftentimes very damaging to children. Yeah.
Again, why the Anna, I see that you unmuted. I will, yes. Again, why astrology is so incredible, because all these things that we label as wrong or bad or should be a different way, when you understand the astrology and you see the chart, first of all, the first thing that's so obvious is that we're all very different, and we all are wired in a different way, and we're all bringing different things. And to think that there's one way that all children should behave. There's one way that all children should learn. There's one way that all children need to be in order to make it in this world. All of that is evidenced by our label of wrong, and we need to fix that, and that's not right, and here's what we do to get this child more in line with what is expected of them. And I want to make sure that it's really clear to all of you out there that this is not about guilt or shame if you have subscribed to any of these things that are shifting, because that's completely not the point. The point is only to illuminate and to help us all see things. All of us, we're all in this together, see things with new eyes and new perspective. And all of us have, especially when you have older kids, I know that the tendency is, oh my God, I failed. I messed up. I didn't know it. I wish I knew it. If I'd known it, I wouldn't have failed. None of that. We don't need to do any of that here. This is all about what Anna brought up in the beginning about this idea of time. We can obliterate that too. It's never too late. There's always the opportunity. You're aware now, and you're asking the questions now, and you're here now. And that's all that matters. And everything that has happened up until now has brought you to this moment. So it's all perfect. It's the Ho'oponopono, to make right more right, an acknowledgement that what is happening right now is right. We're just going to make it more right. Awesome. Anna, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was definitely going to echo what you're saying about the individuality of each child. And as Natasha was speaking, I was reflecting on just my own journey when I first became a mom. And none of it was as the book described. Like, my kid didn't hit any of the markers at the times that he was supposed to. He like started talking and cooing way earlier, walked way later, didn't poop for the whole first month, and there was like nothing wrong with him. However, had I taken him to a doctor, in fact, I was on the phone with a nurse who was trying to, I was looking for help, like a mother's helper, when I first had my newborn. And she happened to be a nurse. And so I was on the phone with her, and this happened to slip in, like, oh, he hasn't really pooped. And she was like, you need to take him to the ER right now. And it's like, but there's nothing wrong with him. There's nothing. He's not exhibiting any sign of anything. And, but of course, you know, as a new mom, I had to like process all of that fear in that moment. Oh, maybe there is something wrong. Maybe I did something wrong. What's wrong with my body for making a baby that has something wrong with him? You know, it's just like, it's so easy to spin. But I was so grateful to, I mean, at that time I had very little bandwidth to actually be studying astrology, but even the little astrology that I was able to pull in, I knew that he had his own rhythm, you know, and it was very clear that I was here to honor that. And I've been reminded of that over and over and over again, that he's gonna hit different milestones at different times, and that it's perfect. Like the fact that he didn't walk until he was a little after 1, but now his physical abilities, he's 5.5, he's insane. His physical abilities are like exceed mine. He jumps from the highest heights and climbs the tallest trees and is consistently coming up with new games for how he can use his body and push his body to like new extremes. And it's just, you know, it's funny to think back to when I was in that stressed new mama mode and thinking, oh, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I didn't support him in the right way. I didn't feed him the right stuff because he hasn't hit this milestone, you know. And of course we can zoom that out to us as a society and think about how we've had, again, these structures that have told us we need to be doing things a certain way, and this is what needs to be happening at each age. And astrology just supports us to throw all that out and say, okay, no, this is what my kid is wired for, and this is what normal is going to look like for them. And it's just the most amazing gift. And then the other piece that was coming in for me was nature. I mean, really, astrology is nature. And all of these behavioral and different issues that have become so medicated, you know, some of that, it's just a call back to reattune to nature. Be with nature, be in nature, play with nature. You know, like my heart just sings with joy anytime that my kid is just in the bay throwing rocks and loving it, because it's so simple. It's so primal. It's so natural. And I just feel like in that moment, I know that I've done something right, because my child can still find joy in just throwing rocks in the water, you know? And the more there's just more and more pressure to be entertained and have all the extras that come with childhood today, the more we're becoming stripped of that like connected, authentic joy that comes from playing with nature, playing with our nature, honoring our nature, and attuning to it.
Yes. So good. Yes. And I'm so glad you brought that in. The other piece that you brought in is, in that beginning phase when you were like, but he's okay. And you had an external authority saying, well, no, he's not okay. And so you had that first opportunity as a mother to trust your intuition. And so much of what astrology does is confirm our intuition. It's like, God, I always knew that. I always sensed that. But now I have permission. I have confirmation from astrology, which is, what is astrology? Just like what you said, from nature, from divine intelligence, whatever you want to call it. I have confirmation that thing that I knew, but that everyone else was telling me isn't true, I was right on. And the more times that happens, actually, the less you need the astrology to confirm it, the more you can just trust it and know that you already do know. I love that you brought that into Anna. And Natasha, I can tell that you have something that you'd like to say.
Do I?
You were writing or something. It seemed like there was something.
I'm just doodling here. Doodling. That helps me when I listen somehow. Yes, and yes. Definitely listening. Oh, I mean, I have so much. I mean, it's basically my whole work when it comes to children astrology and working with parents is confirming a lot of their own intuition and empowering them thus to continue to support the child in that expression of that side of their makeup, rather than listening to the voices of family members or other judges. Oh, you should take care of this, is not right, or your child, you gotta have control over this or that, So those are like the little victories that we have along the way, where astrology offers this confirmation, and not only confirmation, but oftentimes it's like, that's where the seed is, that's where the power is, that's where the gifts are, and if I keep supporting that, it's going to blossom into this amazing tree, and the child is going to be able to take that which was supported in the childhood and offer it to the larger whole. So yeah, a tremendous importance, those little moments, those little acknowledgements, those little awarenesses, during the journey of parenting.
They're huge.
Yeah,
they're huge because those voices, those other voices, you're not doing it right. The child should be this. There's something wrong. You should feel really bad about, everything that you've ever done. They're strong. They're strong and they're pervasive and they're everywhere. So in order to feel strong enough to continue on the path that is right, it does require like a consistent reminder, a consistent touch in with, well, actually, maybe there's a different way for your child. Maybe there's a different way for you as a parent. Maybe that will be your greatest joy. That will be where that sense of joy and fulfillment comes from, living that fully for you and for your child.
Exactly. And connecting it back to the parent, it helps the parent to rewind themselves back to their childhood and understand how many parts of what they were naturally displaying were actually molded or stopped at the core or suppressed, So hence the healing of the parent, simultaneously with allowing their own child to unfold and blossom their own organic way. So it's really, it's beautiful to watch. It goes in all directions. And I also wanted to come back to Anna's child, Koa, whom I have such a honor and pleasure and joy to have been around and played with and get to know on a pretty deep level, actually. Here we have already been given an example by Anna. We have a powerful Cancer child. Is it okay if I reveal it, Anna? Yeah. So we have a child with a stellium in Cancer, up on top of the chart, very powerful Cancer energy, Sun there, and a couple of personal planets, I don't remember, and Mars or something. So here she tuned into what she already knows probably from astrology: Cancer, digestion; Cancer, stomach; Cancer, processing food; Cancer, pooping. Also, pooping is more of a kind of a Scorpio probably, but elimination. But anyway, so she connected it and understood also Cancer needs to have their own pace. Very important for a Cancer child. No pushing, no forcing, no making fit into particular rhythm. They need to take their time. And so here we connect the taking the time with what? Cancer, digestion, right? And trusting that. And voila, the mama's wisdom.
Yes, he has Mars and Mercury in Cancer, and he's a Scorpio rising. So.
Oh, good. And Saturn and Scorpio, right? And Saturn and Scorpio, right? I recall.
Saturn and Scorpio.
Yeah. So
and the Virgo moon also very like methodical.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I learned a lot from my birth experience too. That was very much like, oh, it was not going to happen in the timeline that anybody thought it was going to happen. It was a process.
Yes.
And that initiation helped me carry that imprint of, oh, this is his rhythm into my first months with him. And of course, it's carried me through more than just that. But those first months, I was really learning that over and over again.
Yes. And that is another thing that we can touch on this show, on this channel, in this conversation, is birthing too. There was many mothers who reached out, or soon to be, or hopeful mothers at some point in their life, saying this show is going to be really helpful for us too. Those of us who are considering having children. And I agree. And we could go off. And as you can see, this is why we are dedicating an entire segment of Astrology Hub to this conversation. It is so rich. It is endless in the ways and the directions that we can take it. And we're just so grateful that you're all here. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to end with something really special. And Anna has a book that we're going to have a little story time. All of us. This is going to be a little story time. It's a couple days before Christmas. It just felt like the right thing to do. And this is a really powerful story. She actually brought it to a team meeting for us one day. We all showed up for the team meeting. She's like, I'd like to do something different to start the team meeting. Is that okay? It's like, yeah, fun. Ooh, what's it going to be? And so we all just like settled in. She said, grab a cup of tea, get your blanket, get cozy, which you're all welcome to do right now. Get a blanket, get cozy, get comfortable to listen to this story that feels extraordinarily relevant on many, many levels, especially with this conversation that we're having and the Aquarian energy that is seeding right now. And no, I'm not saying the beginning of the age of Aquarius. I know all you cosmic connection people are going, but it's not the beginning of it. I know. But it is hard to deny that Jupiter and Saturn are at 0 degrees Aquarius. So there is Aquarian. And I did ask Rick that question. Rick, even though it's not the beginning of the age of Aquarius, Aquarius is still an energy that we should be paying attention to, right? And he said, yes, absolutely. So we're still paying attention to Aquarian energy. And this is an Aquarian moment. And this book is perfect to highlight the invitation of Aquarius in its highest expression. So
I think we can speak for most of the audience and say that we were all holding our breath as that question was asked to Rick. See what his answer was going to be.
Yesterday. Yeah. So what Alda's referring to, if you missed it, we did a special edition with Anne Ortley and Rick Levine yesterday. And one of the questions was about the age of Aquarius, which, as you're all hearing all these people say, this is the age of Aquarius. And then you have like this very authoritative, trustworthy source of astrological, just everything, saying he's just on a mission to make sure we all know, at least we know, that this is just astronomically and astrologically not quite the truth. Okay. But the question was, could it, we'll repeat the question because I'm forgetting the exact question.
Yeah. The question was, can it be that we're still experiencing bits of the Aquarian energy as we're building up to the actual shift into the age of Aquarius? And
he said yes.
Anne also asked.
Anne asked, well, when is the age of Aquarius then, or something like that? And he said, well, I think that people are entering into the age of Aquarius at different times. There's some people that started entering the age of Aquarius 200 years ago. There's some people that won't enter the age of Aquarius until 200 years after. There's some people that are still stuck in the age of Aries, whatever it is. And it was like, oh yeah, that's such a great point. I mean, here we are talking about individual differences and different timelines and different. So it was just perfect. And yes, I do know everyone was holding their breath, like, because we're all feeling something, Aquarius. Like it's got it. Yeah. Okay. With all that said, you ready for story
segue?
Time? Perfect segue.
Yes. As we're talking about a truth that's not quite the truth, we're going to be reading The Old Turtle and the Broken Truth. So get settled in, get comfortable. Can you hear me well from back here?
Yes, but make sure you speak up just a little bit louder than you might normally.
How's this?
Yeah, I think
the mic a little.
Okay.
To all who seek truths and who listen to the language of breezes and turtles. Once in a beautiful faraway land that was somehow not so very far, a land where every stone was a teacher and every breeze a language, where every lake was a mirror and every tree a ladder to the stars. Into this far and lovely land there fell a truth. It streaked down from the stars, trailing a trail as long as the sky, but as it fell, it broke. One of the pieces blazed off through the night sky, and the other fell to earth in the beautiful land. In the morning, Crow found the fallen piece. It seemed to be a sort of stone, shiny and pleasing to the eye. He picked it up. "This is a lovely truth," said Crow. "I will keep it." And he carried it away, but after he had held it for a while and examined it closely, Crow said, "The truth does not feel quite right. This truth. A part of it is missing. I will look for a whole one." He flew off and dropped it to the ground. Other creature who liked shiny things soon noticed the truth as well. Fox, coyote, raccoon each picked it up and carried it a while. But they too found that it had rough edges and was difficult to carry, and its sparkle soon lost its appeal. "We do not need this broken truth," they said. "We will find a whole one." After a while, none of the creatures even noticed the broken truth anymore, and it lay on the ground forgotten. Then a human being found it. I need to show this picture. Beautiful. He was walking slowly, listening to breezes, gazing at beauties above and below and all around him, when he found the broken truth. On it was writing, and the writing said, "You are loved." The man held it carefully, thinking it was the loveliest thing he had ever seen. He tucked the broken truth into a safe place and kept it. Sometimes he would take it out and admire it, and the truth sparkled just for him and whispered its message to him alone. And the man thought he had never felt so proud and so happy. The man took the wonderful truth to his people, those who lived with him, who spoke as he spoke and dressed as he dressed, and whose faces looked like his. And together they cherished their newfound truth and believed in it. They hugged it to themselves, and it became their most important possession. After a while, the man and his people did not hear the language of breezes and stones anymore, but heard only their truth. They did not see the mirrored beauty in the lakes or the ladders to the stars, but saw only their sparkling truth. And for them, it was enough, and they called it the truth. The truth made the people feel good and proud and strong, but soon they began to feel fear and even anger towards those who were not like themselves and did not share their truth. The other beings and other people of the lovely land seemed less and less important, and the language of the breezes was hardly ever heard anymore. Time passed, and other people said, "We must have this great truth for ourselves, for with it comes happiness and power." Many battles were fought, and the broken truth was won and lost over and over again. But such was its power and beauty that no one ever doubted it, and when they were without it, they felt a great emptiness where their truth had been. The stones and trees suffered, the breezes and waters suffered, and the animals and the earth, and most of all, the people suffered. Finally, the animals went to Old Turtle, ancient and wise as the mountains and seas themselves. Crow and fox went, coyote went, raccoon, butterfly, bear, and many others. All went to see Old Turtle. This truth the people quarreled over, they said. "We have all held it ourselves. It is broken and does not work. Please tell the people." "I'm sorry," answered Old Turtle, "but the people will not listen. They're not yet ready." And the suffering continued. Until one day, a little girl came to find Old Turtle. She had traveled very far, had crossed the mountains of imagining and the river of wondering why, had found her way through the forest of finding out. And when she had grown tired, she had ridden on the backs of animals or the wings of birds, and they had helped her find her way. Finally, they came to a great hill in the very center of the world. From there, the little girl thought she had never seen so far or seen so much beauty. But when she saw Old Turtle, she could hardly speak. She simply looked with eyes full of wonder. "Why have you come so far to find me, little one?" asked Old Turtle. Her voice rumbled like faraway thunder, but was soft as the breeze through a caterpillar's whiskers. "I wanted to ask a question," answered the little girl. "Where I live, the earth is sore, and people are suffering. Battles are fought over and over again. People say it has always been this way and will never change. Can it change, Old Turtle? Can we make it change?" Old Turtle spoke. "The world you describe is not the world that has always been, little one." Then Old Turtle told of how people had found the broken truth and the suffering it had caused. "It is because it is so close to a great whole truth that it has such beauty, and that the people love it so," said Old Turtle. "It's the lost portion of the broken truth that the people need if the world is to be made whole again. But where's the missing piece? Asked the little girl. Can we put the truth back together again? First, my child, said Old Turtle, remember that there are truths all around us and within us. They twinkle in the night sky and bloom upon the earth. They fall upon us every day, silent as the snow and gentle as the rain. The people clutching their one truth forget that it is a part of all the small and lovely truths of life. They no longer see these truths, no longer hear them, but perhaps, little one, you can. I'll try, said the little girl. And she thought once more of her long journey. She looked upon all the beauty that surrounded her, from the far hills to the flowers beneath her feet. She saw the movement of clouds and the soaring of birds and the dancing of light upon the green and living earth. She heard the whispering of a breeze. And gradually a feeling came over her, as though all the world were made of truths, as if the world had been made just for her, and she had been made for it. And she felt a secret smile somewhere deep inside and thought that perhaps she understood. She looked once again at Old Turtle, her eyes more filled with wonder than before. Old Turtle spoke again. Remember this also, little one, she said. The broken truth and life itself will be mended only when one person meets another, someone from a different place or with a different face or different ways, and sees and hears herself. Only then will the people know that every person, every being is important, and that the world was made for each of us. For a long time, when the two friends were quiet, the two friends were quiet, high on their hill, in the very center of the world. And in her heart, the little girl thought she could see other people in other beautiful lands, people with their own ways, their own truths, people different than their own, but still somehow the people. Finally, the little girl asked one more question. Old Turtle, how will the people learn from these things? How will the people learn these things? By seeking out those small and simple truths all around them, said Old Turtle. By listening once more to the language of breezes, by learning lessons from stones and animals and trees and stars. Even turtles, she chuckled, and little girls. Now, little one, it is time for you to go, to return to your people and tell them what you have seen and learned, and to help them mend their broken truth. Take this with you, said Old Turtle, as she placed something in the little girl's hand. I've saved it for a very long time for someone just like you. The little girl looked at what the Old Turtle had given her. It was a kind of stone, a mysterious, beautiful stone. It was lovely to touch, and it made her feel good to hold it.
Beautiful.
She squeezed it tightly, then tucked it away for her journey. Thank you, Old Turtle, she said, and hugged her friend's great leathery neck. And then she started home. Once more, she traveled through the forest of finding out, crossed the river of wondering why, and the mountains of imagining. Crow led the way, and again, when the little girl grew tired, all her animal friends helped. She sometimes touched the stone the Old Turtle had given her to renew her strength. And it took a long time, yet almost no time at all. And she was home. But it had been a very long journey, and those who take great journeys of the heart are changed. The people did not recognize her, and when she spoke, they did not understand. She told them of her journey, but the people could not follow her words. She spoke of a world made of small and gentle truths, and all the people being one people. But they could not catch her meaning. She explained about the broken truth and the need to make it whole, but the people did not believe her and could not understand. Finally, Crow, seeing all that had happened, flew to the high place above the village where the great truth was kept. In a place where all could see it, he cawed in his loudest voice, and suddenly the little girl knew what to do. She climbed to the high place herself, She took Old Turtle's stone from her pocket and carefully added the missing piece to the old broken one. The fit was perfect. The people looked and looked and looked. Some frowned, some smiled, some even laughed, and some cried, and they began to understand. The stone said, "You are loved," and the other part said, "And so are they." Time passed, and upon the beautiful land the trees climbed like ladders to the stars, the waters shone like mirrors, and the people saw their beauty. A breeze stirred, and they heard its music. Tiny truths fell by day and night, gentle as the rain and snow, and the people found them and kept them in their hearts. And slowly, as the people met other people different from themselves, they began to see themselves. And far away on a hill in the very center of the world, Old Turtle smiled.
It gets me every time. You are loved, and so are they. It's so perfect.
This book came to me in a very magical way. As I was committing myself further to my homeschool curriculum, it's like, I need books. I need books that inspire magic and wonder and really teach Koa the kinds of things I want him to be learning, that I feel are really valuable and ignite his own magic and inspiration and wonder. And literally the next day, Brett, my partner, his parents came to celebrate his birthday, and with them brought this book that they happened to find in their house, and they didn't know how it got there. They couldn't remember who it belonged to. It wasn't Brett's book when he was little, but they're like, we thought that Koa might like this. And it was just so magical. Of course, that night I read it to Koa, and I was in the same state that you were, Amanda, just my heart, both crying and smiling and singing at the same time. I feel like these are the kinds of stories that we need to proliferate right now.
You know, I'll never forget Natasha coming to visit us, and she was in charge of bedtime, and bedtime always includes books. And she would be reading these books, and then she'd come out of the room. The girls would be asleep. She'd come out of the room, and she'd go, "No, that book is old paradigm, and it's proliferating the very ideas that are creating the structures in the world that aren't working. Like, no, I'd be like, oh, I thought that was a cute book. She's like, no, it's not cute." And we would have these conversations, but it's so true. How much of the way that we see the world is through the stories that have been told over and over, the stories that get told in the books, the stories that get told in the movies, the stories that get told in the TV shows, whatever it is, that creates the construct of our world. And yes, we need more books like that. Say the title again, just for those on the podcast that aren't singing it.
Old Turtle and the Broken Truth. And it's written by Douglas Wood.
Douglas Wood. Thank you, Douglas Wood, out there. And thank you, Old Turtle. And thank you, Anna, for that very magical story, and just a perfect message for Seeds of Light. You are loved, you are special, and so are they.
And perfect for the Aquarian moment that we are celebrating right now. It's really, truly in Aquarian spirit, this story and the messages of it. The acknowledging each other's diversity and co-creating through and with that diversity, uniting us within them.
So we will be having one more intro series to Seeds of Light. That's going to happen on January 5th with one of our Inner Circle community members who is also a brilliant astrologer, who is also a mother, who is also super magical and wise and amazing. Her name's Felina. Felina will be the final guest of the intro series. And then on January 8th, we will have the official kickoff of Seeds of Light. And that will be Anna featuring Natasha for the very first episode. Subject matter to be determined. There's little background debate about the first title, the first subject, but it will be fascinating and brilliant and helpful. That will be our guiding principle on what is chosen. There's just so much to explore. It's hard to, and by the way, Natasha, this will just have to be a regular feature of Seeds of Light, is you and your presence and your wisdom here helping us hold this vision, because you have been all along. And one of the things I said before we went live is this is such an exciting opportunity for Natasha's role and influence and guidance to be made more obvious to all, because she has been doing that behind the scenes, both in tangible ways and in very energetic ways for Anna and for myself from the very beginning.
Natasha and I are already conspiring how we're going to regularly feature her and her wisdom and brilliance and gorgeousness and all her glory.
I hear you, girls, and I am taking your invitation. However, I would also like to add that, again, considering the Aquarian spirit that we are in and that we are here to celebrate and embody, I would like to put it out there that I see this as a collaborative effort. I see it as the invitation also for you, the community, for all the parents out there, for all the astrologers out there who are already working with parents, for all the guides, for all the, everybody who is a part of it, to join in, to share your experiences, to share your wisdom, because this is what we need. We need a team. We need a team effort. We need to work together. This is a building. This is new paradigm. This is new path, and we're building it together. And we do need your wisdom as parents, or the ones who are observing and learning about children versus their charts and parenting, to share your knowledge with us, to exchange the information. I know that there are already a couple of, I've seen out there sprouting platforms. Like, I recently became member of Conscious Parenting with Astrology on Facebook, which I kind of accidentally came through. It was suggested by Facebook. I joined, and it's a beautiful initiative, and I am loving that it's already out there. And I think it's Dominique, right?
Yes. Dominique will definitely be a part of this.
Yeah, so she's already created that platform. And I also am seeing other, lights are opening up here and there, and I want to be in contact also with other astrologers who are working with children and parenting, to share the information, to build up the body of knowledge.
Yes.
Dominique is already scheduled on the podcast. She's
beautiful.
Quite a stellar lineup. And I echo what you're saying, Natasha. I'm feeling and seeing the same vision. And at the same time, I'm also excited to finally be here and doing this with you as a key player as we collaborate with everybody that's involved. As you said, it's going to be up to each one of us to take this and work with it and inspire one another and teach one another. And we all play different roles for each other.
Yeah.
I wanted to also say that it's perfect that we ended with story time, because our next episode, which is with Felina next week on the 5th, is going to be about teaching astrology through storytelling. I'm really excited to dive into that. Then our first official kickoff with Natasha is going to be on the 8th with a mysterious
topic.
Taboo topic. No, I've said too much already. And the week after that, we're going to be meeting with Achyuta Bava, speaking about reading babies' charts, the do's and don'ts. Mm-hmm. And also, if there's time, we're going to be discussing negative aspects and how to work with that. And then the week after that, we're going to be featuring Dominique, who is also a member of our community. She has been for 4 years, basically since the beginning. And she's also an astrologer and a mother, as you said. And we're going to be speaking about co-parenting, using astrology in our co-parenting for healthy dynamics and all that good stuff. So we have so many amazing topics and amazing people that are coming together for this. And it's amazing that the list is just endless. There's so many different rabbit holes that I wanted to go down today. And I had to stop myself. I know that might not be obvious, because we did go down some very fun rabbit holes already today, but it's such a rich, endless topic to explore, and I'm really excited to be on this journey.
Amen. And all of your stories too. That's the other thing that we mentioned this last time, but this is going to be a place where we can come together and share our stories, our successes, our challenges, the way that we're using astrology in real life so that it comes to life for each other. And we learn so much from each other's stories. So thank you. Thank you, Natasha, for being here today. Thank you, Anna, for leading and guiding this initiative and this new show. And thank you to all of you for your huge, enthusiastic, and inspired yes, your feedback that came in after the last episode, your big, huge yes, 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 more. We're so happy you're doing this. Just thank you for being who you are and for being a part of this community. And as always, 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 for making astrology a part of your life. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks, everybody. Take care.